All right, so here we are. I'm going to go into how to create these buttons and give them actions. Actually, we've already created the buttons. We're just ready to give them some purpose in their lives. And what I've done here, I'll show you kind of what I have arranged in mind. I'm at my splash um, page, basically right here, kind of my intro into my animation. I've extended mine to 1 second to add in this little animation where my button comes up. And all I did was basically um, I had a layer for buttons, and for this particular one, I added a motion preset from here, and I only wanted it to fly in for 1 second, and then it's going to stop right where it's at. So I set my frames to how long I wanted that animation to be, and added, selected this, added my preset, and it set my animation to end at 1 second. Um, I have a Mr. Fulton text right here, and I have a splash design layer right here where everything else is kind of laid out. Below is where my animations are, and because I've extended this out beyond just the 1 frame, what I've done is I pushed all of this back to the end because the way I have mine arranged is to be all in one scene. Those of you that are having to deal, that are working with two different scenes, you don't have to obviously deal with that. But I'm trying to keep it kind of streamlined and see how this goes. So I'm just going to close this down for right now because I don't need that. If I were to play this as it is, this is what happens. Oh, I can't click on it. I can't do anything, right? It's too fast. And then it goes and replays again, and that's not what I want. So let's close this down. I want to be able to play this button. I want to be able to click on it. We did add actions to this. I want to be able to click on it and tell it when to go on to um, the next frame. So I'm going to select my button here, and I'm going to go up to Window and choose Actions. You can also, mine pops up with code snippets alongside of it. If yours does not, you can also go to Window and choose Code Snippets. And this sometimes opens up in a separate window, which then you can snap together here when it wants to. Come on, there we go. Now I've got code snippets and actions. Those kind of go hand in hand here. And within this, you have action script, which is what we're working with. And you have different actions, basically, or different commands that you can give objects and things within your animation to get them to move automatically or on command. So things like move horizontally, fade in, fade out. Some things can kind of be streamlined a little bit to help you out. Now, let's look at, well, I do need timeline navigation. So I have stop at this frame, click to go to frame and stop, click to go to frame and play, and so on. I'm looking for click to go to frame and play. So I want to give that command to my button here. Those of you that are working with multiple scenes, you would go to, most likely, go to next scene and play, or even possibly go to scene and play, which you have to be a little bit more specific with this one. So I'm going to go to next frame. Actually, I'm going to go to next frame and play right here. So I'm going to double click here. And it says the selected symbol requires an instance name. Animate will create an instance name before applying the sample code. I don't like that idea that Animate wants to name my own stuff. I want to kind of be in charge of that, so I'm going to hit cancel. But I do have to give my an instance name before applying this. So I'm going to cancel here, go to properties, and right up here where it says instance name, and I do have my play button selected, I'm going to go here and I'm going to give it play button and click off of it. And then I'm going to go back here, go to frame and play, and double click again. And these instructions pop up. And it says, it gives the command, Clicking on a specified symbol instance moves the playhead to the specified frame in the timeline. And let me help out here. Continues playback from that frame. Can be used on the main timeline or movie clip timelines. And it gives you instructions on how to work it. So this is kind of helpful. Replace the number 5 right here in the code below with the frame number you would like the playhead to move to when the symbol instance is clicked. So we don't want ours to go to 5. Our animation starts on, so this ends on 24. My animation will start on frame 25. If I confirm that here, there it is. So that is what I want. I want 25. So let's go back, and I'm going to select my button again where this was applied. And also you'll notice that when I added that action, it creates an action layer. And that's where I can access this right here and the actions that I've applied to these frames. A little A pops up to say, hey, you have an action applied to this frame. It wants to go to frame 5. I want it to go to frame 25. So I'm going to click right here. I'm going to put a 2. And I'm going to click off to the side. And we'll see how this works. So I'm going to push this to my other monitor. And I've applied an action right here to play when I click on this button starting on frame 25. So let's test it out. Oh, well, that action might be in there, but I can't play it because I can't click it. Maybe I can if I'm fast enough, but it's not giving the effect that I want. I want that splash page to stay there long enough to where I can click it and not do anything until I give that next command. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this, go back to here. I'm still in frame 24 here, and I'm going to add another code. I'm going to tell it to stop at this frame. Stop at this frame. Animate timeline will stop at this frame where you insert this code. Okay, so let's try that out. We'll slide this over. Preview again. Hey, that worked. Now, let's see if my play works. Well, there we go. I've got 2 actions for this right now. One tells it to stop. The other one tells this button what to do. Okay, so now let's get into our other buttons. Notice how it went back and it stopped again because it's waiting for more actions. What I actually want it to do, let's back up here. See how long my animation is. Mine goes to 153 frames. Okay, so what I want to do on this frame here is tell it to stop. So I'm going to apply another stop code on this frame. Code snippet, stop on this frame, and there we go. So I'm going to play those. Command. It plays through, and it stops. Okay. Now I want to add my buttons, my other buttons to this frame. So I'm going to do here's my buttons layer. I'm going to put a blank keyframe here. I'm going to extend it all the way out to here. On this frame is where I want to add my other buttons. So I'm going to hit F6, and I have my other buttons here, learn how. I have my home button, really tiny, make that bigger. And I have a replay button here. Now you can arrange these how you want. What I'm going to do first is give them some actions. So now that I have them here, I can click on this and say, and give it an action, basically like what I've done before. So I'm going to choose my select tool, and I have this selected. I'm going to go to Window, Actions, and Code Snippets, and I'm going to go to, when I want it to replay, I want it to go to Frame and Play. I want to give it another thing. I want to give it my own instance name. And double click on it again. I want it to go to frame, again, 25. And let's test it out. Play. This plays through, stops, and my buttons show up. Now I have this button right here I've given an action to, and it should replay, which is perfect. So let's go down and look at my other buttons. Here's this one. I'm going to go have it selected, code snippet. I want it to go to frame and play, but I want it to go to a different frame than this one. I want this one to go back to my home page. I can choose to have it go to frame 24 or replay my animation at frame 1. I'm going to have it to go to frame 24, kind of the resting spot for my splash page. So I'm going to choose that, cancel home button, double click on it again. I want to go to frame, I'm going to delete that 5, remember, I put 24, off, and let's try it. Play. He blinks. That replays, let's see, this goes back home. Doesn't replay the whole animation at the home, but it goes to this place where I can play again. So that works out good. Now this last one, I want to add a code snippet for that and say I want it to do something different. I want it to, let's see, click to go to a web page. So that's what I want to do, obviously. I want it to be learn how, tutorials. I'm also going to give you a link that you can use for some of yours as well. So I'm going to double click on this, say cancel again. I want to give it a learn how button and double click. And now what I want to do here, it tells me replace the www.com with the desired URL. So I'm going to replace this with my own code, my own link, not code. So I've copied my tutorial page address for YouTube, and what I'm going to do is replace this with that. So I'm highlighting all of this here, and I'm going to replace it. So I'm going to highlight that and do Control V, and I've got some repeat stuff here, so I'm going to delete this stuff out. Here we go. And click off to the side and test it out. Stops, it plays, action happens, and I've got these buttons here. I've got these all moving, which is good. I'm going to click it, and on my other monitor, the tutorial site pops up. And so kind of have an idea of how this all works. Everything works great now. So that is all set, and I'm good to go for now. So that is all. I want you to work on assigning your buttons actions, as well as arranging possibly for more animation on your splash page, making sure that your buttons are placed where you want them to appear. I wanted my buttons at the end to show up at the end. You may want your buttons to show up and be kind of hovering around throughout the whole thing. In that case, what you would do is take this and drag them over here, and so on. So, but you would also have to make sure that your actions follow along with them. Otherwise, your buttons may move, but your actions may only be working on the final frame. So, some things to consider as you customize your own animation. Have fun with it and good luck.